It's a terrific time on Friday evening. Now you may finally set the papers aside and enjoy a restful night's sleep. Leary stepped away from the papers, shut down the computer, and stretched. The challenge was one that was hard to solve. Who should I spend the evening with tonight? Examine the tried-and-true choices, or go hunting. Am I done, Chief? Permit me to leave. Or Christy, the young 25-year-old luscious blonde, deliberately didn't finish her sentence waiting for a reaction from Leary. Go home, Christy. I'm going straight home tonight. I need to get some sleep. It's been a hard week. He smiled softly and got up from the table, Leary. Christy, with a sad sigh, closed the door behind her. She was just one of the proven options to have a good time with. But truth be told, there were plenty of such proven options in the building that housed the law office in which Leary worked. Leary, an attorney with the famous Jacksonville law firm, was unusually popular with women of all ages. He was not breathtakingly handsome or muscular, but he had an incredible Irish charm that acted, by many of the ladies he conquered, like catnip on anyone who defined himself as a woman. Leary didn't know exactly what this particular catnip looked or smelled like, but he was prepared to believe in its power because girls would fall at his feet in droves the moment he smiled and made eye contact. Hunt, free hunt, he resolved in the end. As soon as he left the building, he hurried to a bar that was well known to everyone in Jacksonville. It wasn't upscale, there might be fights and showdowns, but at the same time, the atmosphere of fun and adventure permitted everyone who crossed the threshold of this bar. Once inside, Leary looked around. Standing at the bar was a young woman in her early 40s with prominent melons. It was obvious she was watching her figure, but the years were taking their toll. She's pretty. Too bad she's old, thought Leary. The woman was chortling, but Leary could see her looking sadly at a couple sitting at a table, not far from the counter. The couple looked colorful. A slim, handsome girl and a balding older man. The girl was talking passionately about something. As they walked by, Leary overheard a conversation. A Frenchwoman, Leary guessed. The man listened attentively, nodding in approval. Up close, the bald man felt different. An aura of power and strength spread from this seemingly unassuming man. I'll see. Leary shuddered as he imagined a halo over the bald man's head and wings behind his shoulders. Some angel of death, he snorted, taking a seat behind a chair. And then he heard an explosion of laughter. There was a group of women with beers sitting in the far booth, discussing something merrily. After emptying his glass, our male directed his feet and the rest of his body to this supposed hotbed of pleasure and hilarious relaxation. Girls, I see you're all having fun, but I know how to make the evening even more fun. Thank you. But we're not using drugs tonight. A stunning redhead with clear Irish ancestry exclaimed. Oh, of all the drugs I can only give myself. Leary shot back, flashing that signature grin at the woman. The commoner at the other end of the table sighed and went unconscious. The females hurried over to assist her. Leary was no stranger to helping her back to the table. Are you all right, my dear? Leary asked in his velvet baritone voice right into the recovered girl's ear. She nodded her head frantically, apologized, and headed for the exit of the bar. Go first, Leary chuckled to himself. So, with three of us at the table, what shall we do? Turned around the lawyer, known in small circles. Like what? Let's continue to celebrate, exclaimed the red-headed beastie, looking at her friend. She grimaced a little, but raised her glass. Beth, I'm going to beat you anyway, she said stubbornly. Leary raised an eyebrow in surprise and looked at Beth. She laughed, explaining, We're celebrating the end of the quarter and my first place in insurance sales. Sarah, long the leader, is only in second place this time. It's all because the town ran out of players and we don't have any other teams. Sarah muttered acidly, as if that explained the loss of the lead. All I have to do is sell $10K worth of insurance and I'll beat you. And you'll do it before midnight? Well, well, Beth snorted. Let's avoid arguing. Whispering in a clandestine tone, Leary looked around the side like a smuggler during Prohibition. I know much more fun things to do. And just what are they? Sarah asked in a dubious and slightly inebriated manner. Come with me onto the dance floor. The foursome dazzled on the dance floor for the next hour. Because there wasn't much space, the dancing was more like cuddling, including hugging, groping, and stroking all the protruding body parts of the participants in this dance. When they returned to their table, the star of the Jacksonville bar carelessly inquired, taking another beer. It's getting too stuffy and hot in here. I suggest we go someplace quieter. Oh no, I've had enough. Beth sighed and began to pack for home. Sarah silently raised her hand with her wedding ring. "Is that a problem?" Leary inquired. He'd already seen it many times in his adventures. Having a ring didn't deter all ladies, especially here in Jacksonville. Married women seemed to love their time in bed with Leary almost more than single and unmarried ones for some reason. Husbands frustrated sighed in private as they attempted to figure out why there was a local oddity. However, they later treated their adulterous spouses to a romantic evening and permitted their partners to rejoin the family. Sarah looked at the ring, then at Leary, thinking drunkenly about something. The pause lasted for a minute, but then she smiled devilishly at her thoughts, and evidently resolving something inwardly, nodded decisively to Leary. "No, that won't be a problem for what I'm up to," and hiccuping drunkenly, resolutely grabbed Leary's arm and dragged him to the exit. "We haven't much time, so let's not waste it. I have a wonderful house with a fireplace." Leary started to say something, but Sarah interrupted him. "No, let's go to my place." "Is the husband on a business trip?" "Husband? Of course not. He's at home cooking dinner." "Will he mind?" Leary once more clarified. He didn't like running away from angry husbands, but he'd run into the losers sitting in the next room a couple of times when he was pumping their wives in the bedroom. "Nah, he'll help us." Sarah stretched sweetly and smiled. Leary had actually, and he was wildly complexed by it, only managed to participate with 3 persons twice in his career. That's not counting the college part of his life in the legendary UFS dorm. He was famous for his wild parties. True, he never made it to one of the most legendary 3 sums, but fortunately for him, and unfortunately for those taking part, it didn't end very well. When they entered Sarah's house, her husband was actually cooking dinner. Neat, but rather tall and muscular, more robust and towering. In a rose-colored apron, he appeared really adorable and humorous. The large butcher knife that he was skillfully using to carve meat somewhat ruined the photo. Sarah leaned slightly into Leary and proclaimed loudly, "Darling, we're here." The final couple glasses were definitely extra. The husband looked at his spouse in surprise. "Us? Meet my darling, this is Leary. I met him at our bar when Beth, Linda, and I were sitting around celebrating the upcoming closing of the block." The husband stared at Leary with big eyes. He was beginning to suspect that the tea time might not be happening. "He's a real gentleman." I patiently interrogated the husband in the apron. "Oh, we have to go with him." Not very intellectually supported the conversation. The husband. "It's, honey, that's what you thought." The husband relaxed but picked up a burr to sharpen his knife. Now Leary tensed up. Glancing at her husband, Sarah went down the hall, opened the door to the next room, and beckoned Leary with her finger. "But we could need you later," Sarah remarked seriously as she opened the door and planted a kiss on Leary. The future top attorney in Florida, and perhaps the entire South, noticed that Sarah had turned on the light and that they were actually in their home office rather than the bedroom. True, almost immediately he saw a luxurious couch. After all, the home bedroom is sacred to the family, Leary thought, and was already considering how best to make himself comfortable on the couch. But then Sarah came over to the table, leaned into the bottom drawer, and started rummaging and mumbling something there. As she did so, her shapely legs were in seductive stockings. And yes, it was clear that she preferred a very small thong. While Leary looked at the beauty that opened up, Sarah found what she was looking for and turned to Leary. "There!" Sarah waved something victoriously, causing Leary to look away from mentally undressing her future partner. With difficulty taking his eyes off the gorgeous bust, he stared at the stack of papers Sarah was shaking. "What's this?" "Like any decent lawyer, and you are a decent lawyer, aren't you? You need insurance." All sorts of things happen in court: gunfights, attacks by Mexican drug cartel mercenaries, stoned cops, angry cuckolds hunting you down. Life in court is dangerous and unpredictable, but I will nobly save you, and it will cost you a measly $10,000. Step right up, hurry up, buy the insurance before the price goes up. Sarah began to push hard, pushing her magnificent large melons on him. Ladies with large, beautiful melons were inexplicably popular in this town, and were forgiven much for which girls with pimples in their bras were ready to be executed. Jacksonville ladies grumbled, not understanding the reason for this anomaly, but eventually sighed and made an appointment with a plastic surgeon. Husband sighed too, paying those bills. "Look, let's talk about this later." The somewhat stunned, handsome lawyer tried to hug Sarah. "Darling," gently cooed Sarah, You now have a great chance to become the owner of a very necessary thing, your health insurance. And you may need it soon, and for a measly 10,000. That's not why I came here, but that's exactly what I'm here for. Looked languidly at the best insurance salesman in Jacksonville, though not for this quarter. But Sarah expected to fix that pesky little detail in the next 10 minutes. I think I'm gonna go. Abram, we have a problem. The door to the office opened, and Abram walked in with a knife and an apron. There were bloodstains on the apron and on Abram's face, the eagerness to solve any problems his wife might have. Leary swallowed frantically, looked around, and grabbed a statue from the table. It's made of papier-mâché, said the husband of the best insurance salesman phlegmatically, testing the knife for sharpness. Abram, can you imagine he doesn't understand his happiness? Sarah promptly slipped to her husband. It's obvious that this sale will make us all happier. Abram nodded his head, remembering how he, too, at first didn't understand his happiness when he decided to marry Sarah. But then he changed his mind. It was like yesterday, a quiet Ukrainian night in Zhytomyr, a hayloft Sarah, her panties in her hands and her daddy's gun at her head. It won't hurt. Abram reproduced his father-in-law's phrase almost exactly. And mind you, at this point, you won't have the insurance I offered you. Oh, how it would help you now, Sarah exclaimed from behind her husband. I won't give it away so easily. Leary's Irish blood boiled. Abram kept repeating his father-in-law's sentences from that night, almost word for word. But you'll be locked up, Leary exclaimed in horror. The alligators haven't been fed for a long time, so no one will know. Abram was proud that this phrase was already his own. His father-in-law had never told him that, because of the absence of these very alligators in Zhytomyr. Leary was in a panic. It was a robbery. But on the other hand, he valued his life at more than that $10,000. So after hesitating, he agreed. I agreed to sign. 10 minutes later, as he walked out of the jerk's house, Leary heard Sarah shouting victoriously into the phone. Beth, I beat you again! Do it! Leary thought and decided to quit seducing married ladies. This was Leary's most expensive date ever. What's your opinion about OP? Thanks for joining us in our stories where revenge is served hot. Please consider subscribing to our channel to ensure your next chef remains loyal. Tune in for the next one to get your revenge appetite fulfilled. If you're below 18, hold on, it's not for the faint-hearted.